Why you doing some street videos, Mike?
Well, yeah, food vlog. So yeah, not exactly on the street, man on the street videos. Although, though, like I was gonna say when we were talking about that, like that, those are all the rage these days. Those man on the street interviews. Like, I feel like I feel like somebody could jump into that, and if they have like the right personality, like they're not too afraid of being on camera, and or even if they are to begin with, but they keep consistent with it. Those man on the street videos, like there's nothing stopping you from going like mega viral, and people love those videos because it's not just one person's perspective. You're getting every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Mary on the street, right? So it's like that's why it's interesting. You're getting opinions across the board. So you never run out of content with that.
Yeah, you guys have probably heard of like the School of Hard Knocks does those videos where he like goes around in, I think he's in like Texas or something or LA, and he'll go around and ask people like, "Hey, how did like he'll see somebody like stepping out of like a luxury car, and he'll be like, "What do you do to afford this car?" Like you guys have probably seen his clips.
Oh
He's
yeah,
Oh yeah.
he's
I've seen
huge.
stuff like that.
And now I see
Oh,
other
sir,
people like
how did you become a millionaire?
yeah, yeah, and now I see other people like emulating him. Like they've started a second channel of Hard Knocks Women or something. So it's like a female that goes around and interviews females, and I've seen other people kind of like just ripping it, doing that streeter style. And honestly, I've had the thought a few times of like that would probably make for really engaging videos because you're dynamic, you're moving around, you're walking up to people, so there's like an element of anticipation in the video because now the viewer is like, well, is this person just going to tell them to fuck off? Or are they going to like say something really great? The only, and I've had this thought a couple times of like, I could do content kind of like that, but number one, I don't know if I want to make that like my brand because I also think that in order for content like that to like really work, like that School of Hard Knocks guy, like I said, I think he's in Texas or LA or something. Like he lives somewhere where people roll up in luxury cars and like billionaires live. I don't know about you guys, but the city closest to me probably has a pretty low supply of billionaires. So yeah, but it's
Where do you live
interesting.
again?
Manitoba, Canada.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You're not in like if you're in Vancouver, you definitely
could work.
find a lot of millionaires.
Yep.
It's an expensive city.
Yeah,
I
for
think it's
sure.
funny when they ask like political questions about candidates or whatever, and they're people are so gun ho and they don't know shit about them, or like they ask like basic history questions and they have no clue on like
Hmm.
what's going on. That shit cracks me up. But Mike was saying something earlier when you were filming out in the streets. Mike, you had like a reframe. I thought that was interesting that you were saying that pretend like you're talking to a friend because I think I would have that issue if I was out in the streets talking by myself. I'd be like, oh, I actually saw like I was walking out the other day and it was a typical LA thing. These two little girls had like their camera posted up and they're like got ready for their little dance and did their
Oh,
little TikTok dance or whatever, like in front of this like marketplace or whatever. And I was like laughing because I don't know, kind of it doesn't remind me of that, but I'm just saying like it's like I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
I see. I've definitely seen that. I've seen people filming the TikTok stuff. Usually, it's more like grown women when I see it. It's like women in like their 20s or something, right? I think I've seen it here in even in Medellin, Colombia. I saw some chick at a cafe with like her whole her phone set up on like a stand in this with like a ring light and stuff at a cafe out on the patio there. Um, nah, but yeah. So with this food vlogging thing, I decided to like start up again because I thought to myself, I'm always traveling, right? And I used to do the whole food blogging thing, so maybe this is something I can start off by doing on the side or whatever again. But yeah, the other day I was in a Korean restaurant eating ramen, and I was kind of like one of the only people in the restaurants aside from the staff. And at a certain point, it's like the restaurant was just like so quiet you could hear a pin drop, right? So um, you have to obviously keep your volume up if you want to be heard for the video, right? So
Well, I think that's why a lot of people will live stream too. Like my partner for a while when he was like kind of in between, didn't really know what he wanted to do online. He got really big into like video game live streaming, and he eventually stopped doing it because he was like, I don't know if I want to like, make my whole life around like encouraging people to play video games. Like I think I want to do something that like feels a bit better for my soul. But he was like, yeah, I totally get why, number one, why live streaming pops off, because it's you can build a community very quickly, but it also is just kind of a more organic method for the person filming, because you don't feel like you're just like sitting there talking to yourself being like, I'm so important. Like you're engaging with other people. So I've actually heard people say that before, that like when they're trying to film something and they feel awkward, they'll just like either actually turn on a live stream and just be like, fuck it, I'll just live stream this, or they'll just like pretend that they're live streaming. But it's
Hmm.
that like engaging with other people and having other people engage with you, that it almost feels like you now have like permission to show up the way you want to show up. And honestly, I think that's why like my like interviews work. Like interviewing people works, because I literally just had a client this week that I interviewed, and they both, like, it was two women. They built the business together, and they both were like nervous about it because they're like, "Oh, we're just like we're pretty new to video. Like neither of us really are like content creators." And then at the end of the interview, I was like, "Guys, that was awesome. Like I didn't have to like really rephrase you guys or anything. Like you were like very natural at this." And they're like, "Well, yeah, because you were asking us questions. Like that's it's different." And I
Yeah.
think live streaming kind of works the same. It's like it's engaging with somebody else as opposed to like sitting there convincing yourself to be engaging.
Yeah, it's having like a little bit of feedback, even with Darian mentioning something in the comments, and I know he does his live streams on LinkedIn for the
Yep.
asset creators, which are really good. So yeah, I get that. I think that having a little bit of feedback helps. Otherwise, it's like kind of awkward. It feels like if like you don't have any sort of signs or signals coming back at you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I've gotten good over the years at doing these one man dialogues or whatever. I did a podcast kind of during COVID where I was just doing this one man podcast, just talking, just riffing, right? So yeah, you get pretty good at that after a while, just riffing on your own. But you're kind of pretending though. I never thought about it too much, but you kind of are pretending as if you are speaking to a person. Like you do in in your mind, like subconsciously, you're kind of pretending as if you're speaking to a small audience or like one person there. You might even picture like one friend or something like this for a particular topic that you know would like resonate with that person.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
for
interesting.
sure.
It's cool we
I,
got Darian in the chat. What like he came over from LinkedIn, I guess, to join us for the day.
Darian. Yeah, I usually when I hop on, I usually toggle off the option to like email everybody on my list, because I just figure like if I do that every Friday, people are just more likely to unsubscribe because they're like, I don't need to know every time Kelsey's like going live. But today I left it on, and then when I saw Darian comment, I was like, oh, maybe my email pinged him, because I know Darian and I are on each other's lists. Um,
You turn that off, eh?
I usually do, not always.
I always have that on. No
Nice. Darian
wonder.
said I
No
saw the
wonder.
email and had to join. Yeah, I mean,
No
hey,
wonder I
you.
get unsubscribes because I'm constantly pinging people like, "Hey, I'm going live again. Going live again." I guess I should turn that off.
No, I love it. I mean, you. I think you should like shamelessly self promote. Maybe I'm just too
Yeah.
conscious of my email list size, admittedly. Um, But something you said there, Mike, made me think of something that I actually started doing in my interviews this week, and I'm like pretty excited about it because I've noticed, like, I don't know if you guys watch a lot of like Diary of a CEO interviews or anything like that, but
I like
I've
them.
noticed that a lot of people who have like big interview channels who have like these high production interviews, they often will have like multiple elements of interest going on at the same time of the interview. So like the overall point of the video is like I'm interviewing this person about this topic. But something that like Diary of a CEO does, for example, is not on every episode, but on most of them, at the beginning of the episode, he'll sometimes get people to draw a card from a deck, and it's like a deck of like questions. So they draw a card knowing that like towards the end of the interview, the person's then going to like read that card and answer the question. So he opens a loop at the beginning of the interview, and it's like a small like engagement point, and now that's another like narrative that people want to stick around to see like, well, what's the question they drew and like what are they going to say. um Another thing he does is like he has the actual like diary, like the diary of a CEO, where at the end of the episode he always gets the person to write a question for the next person who comes on the podcast. So people will often stick around for that because they're like, well, what's the question that this person's going to answer from the diary, and then they'll stick around to see that person then like writing their question. So it's little things like that where he's not necessarily introducing like another narrative into the interview. He's just introducing another like loop to close, another like engagement point. So, something that I tried on an interview yesterday, and I literally thought of it like the hour before the interview, and I was like, "Okay, I've already like prepped for this. Like, do I want to just throw this in?" But I was like, "Fuck it. Let's just try it and see what happens." So I messaged the guy like 20 minutes before the interview, and I was like, "Hey, can you bring like a piece of paper and a pen to our interview today?" And I just kind of assumed like he'll probably have a notebook there. Like everybody has a notebook at their desk. This guy apparently is one of the only people who just like doesn't have notebooks. So he like ran and grabbed a napkin because I asked him a question at the top of the interview and I wanted him to write down his answer. And then I said, at the end of the interview, we're going to get you to like show the answer that you wrote. And I want to see if like you still stand by the answer that you wrote, or if maybe during the interview you're like, oh no, I changed my answer or something. And it ended up being like one of the best interviews I've done in a long time because number one, we just like jumped into it right away with like kind of that point of intrigue of like, I asked him this question that I thought the viewer would be interested in, but they have to stick around until the end to see like what he actually wrote down. So it kind of like, it's like an open loop that gets closed at the end, but it also kind of acts as like an icebreaker because now instead of doing like the pre-show banter of like, "Hey, welcome to the show. Like, how's it going? Happy to have you." All that shit that I just like I like to cut out now. We just jump right into me asking him that question and then him writing it down.
Cool.
And yeah, I really liked it. It worked. I think I'm going to do it every time now.
Did his answer change at the end out of curiosity, or did it stay the same?
So he, for context, he has built, I think he's on his second business now, but he built a seven-figure business doing SEO for businesses. So basically just helping them rank online. And so the whole interview was kind of about that. And so the question I asked him at the top was, what is the most common mistake you see people make with SEO that ends up costing them the most money? So I thought that's a
Good question.
question that like somebody who came to the interview because they're interested in SEO would probably be interested to hear the answer to that question. And the
Yeah.
answer he wrote down, he said he did still stick with. He said making the wrong kind of content, because he said a lot of people think like, oh, if I want like SEO content, I need to like write a bunch of blogs and then have them like link back to my site. And he said that's actually a big misconception. He went a lot nerdier in it. I'm not going to be able to explain it, but he did say, he's like, I still stand by my answer, but during the interview, I actually thought of another good answer that I could have given. And that's kind of my thought with getting people to write it down is number one, it creates intrigue for people because they're like, I want to see what he wrote. But also, I've just noticed that a lot of times people will have like kind of aha moments during the interview and they might think like, oh, I just thought of a better answer or something like that. So yeah, it's cool. It was fun. I'm gonna do it again.
I like it.
Was his
Well,
answer
yeah.
basically like prioritizing volume over quality sort of thing? Like writing about everything under the sun as opposed to like really dialing it in?
No, so basically he said, oh man, like there is, if you're interested in SEO, the interview is actually really
Well,
good. He
I
explained
had
it in
an
a way.
SEO client once. That's so
Okay.
I actually ended up learning some things about SEO.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought that SEO was all about like keywords, like having the right keywords on your site. But he said that that's actually outdated. That worked really well like almost 10 years ago. Basically the kind of most simplified gist of it is that your site looks more credible if other sites that look credible are linking to your site. Like
Yeah.
that's like the
Yeah.
simplest way to explain it. Um, so
Backlinks.
in relation to him saying like a lot of people do the wrong content, a lot of people think that like, oh, I need to like get somebody to write a bunch of blogs for me that are going to be like about this topic that my business is related to, and then get them to like link those blogs to my site. And he said that that doesn't really work anymore. He said basically you need to make sure that you have a, like if you're on like you're looking at like Google for example for SEO, you have to make sure you have a proper Google business profile, which a lot of businesses don't. And you have to make sure that the information on your Google business profile accurately lines up to the information on your actual website, because you have like a Google business profile listing with like, your, if you're a physical business, it would be like your address, any reviews people have left you would be on there, like your hours of operation and stuff like that. So you basically create this Google business profile, and you want to make sure that all the information on there reflects all the information on your actual website. And he got a lot deeper and more complex than that, but yeah, the
Yeah,
dude
I
loves
hear all the
SEO.
titles need to all match, like on all your social media, like on like your Instagram, your LinkedIn. They all kind of have to like have like the same thing. And I think now it's even changing differently because of the generative AI. Because now
Mhm.
that is acting like a search engine, and it's sort of that'll look at like Reddit and like LinkedIn and other things. So like it's interesting because it's kind of changing.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things he talked about too, because a lot of people think that, oh, I want to be able to like show up in search or in AIs, because a lot of people use AI as like search engines now. And
Yep.
he said that he's like, there's basically like there's because ChatGPT is basically owned, I think, by Microsoft or got like a shit ton of funding from Microsoft. So ChatGPT doesn't actually pull info from Google; it pulls info from Bing. So if because Bing is Microsoft. So if a business like really wants to show up on ChatGPT specifically for some reason, then like building out all their Google stuff doesn't actually help at all. It does for things like Claude and these other AIs, but he's like there's basically Google, Bing, and Yelp, and depending on what AI you want to show up in, you need to optimize on that search engine.
Interesting that like Bing, is now then influencing ChatGPT searches when
Yeah.
like who the hell uses Bing,
Yeah, I was
right?
wondering that. I don't use it
Do,
either.
do,
Yeah.
do, do you know a single person who would go to Bing over Google? Like, uh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but it's yeah, it's interesting. I don't think that Microsoft owns ChatGPT. I could be wrong, but I know he said that ChatGPT got like a ton, or OpenAI got like a ton of funding from Microsoft, so they're very like Microsoft biased now. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, if somebody searched me on Bing, the fuck is Bing? I don't that never crosses my
I
mind.
don't think I've ever done a single search on Bing.
Yeah.
I don't think I have either.
No.
The relationship between Microsoft and ChatGPT might be very similar to what they did with LinkedIn, because I know that LinkedIn, has some shares or something Microsoft has shares with LinkedIn, or they have like a lot of influence with LinkedIn, and they probably have that same thing with ChatGPT as
Mhm.
well. Yeah.
The whole landscape's changing big time though, because I don't really like use Google as much as I did back in the day. So I think that the whole thing is changing rapidly because like if you think about it, like you used to go to like Google every time you needed to search. Now I just go straight to like Anthropic and ask questions, or Claude or whatever. So like now I feel
I'll
like
go
some of the
to
things is tilted a little.
I'll go to ChatGPT actually over Claude for like actual search based
Questions.
stuff. Yeah, I find that I actually find that ChatGPT is a little bit more of a just a little more straight, more of a straight shooter, a little more factual. And Claude is maybe good at like creative stuff, wild brainstorming type stuff. But Claude actually spits out some real garbage answers sometimes, and it's just like what are you even? Oh, what are you talking about? It's like that's completely wrong. It's like, oh yeah, that was wrong. I was actually just guessing there. Like Claude's Claude's got an attitude, man, just unbridled conviction. Um, so
That's such a
sure,
good way to
so
describe
sure of
it.
himself, so sure of himself, with not based in any reality.
So
That's
sure of
funny.
himself. Yeah,
That's
that's
why it's
true.
good for creative writing and brainstorming and stuff, because it will just take things, and go completely like left field in this, right? Which for creativity can be good. Occasionally you'll get a little gem there where you're actually like, oh, that's actually a good line.
Mhm. It's funny because since I shifted to Claude, which I feel like you guys were a big influence in convincing me to shift to Claude,
Yes.
I stopped paying for ChatGPT. I was like, well, I'm gonna use Claude now, so if I need GPT, I can just use the free one. But with how much I was using GPT before, you use up like a lot of memory on it, and then when you downgrade back to free, it basically anytime I've tried to go back to GPT now, even just for like a simple task, it continually tells me like your memory's full, you need to like upgrade to use this. So ChatGPT has now become like borderline useless now that I went from paid to free. I could probably just like reset it or like delete a bunch of shit out of the memory, but then the things that I sometimes go back to it for to work on wouldn't be there. So I'm like, okay, so GPT is basically now useless to me, which I'm okay with.
I pay for both of them.
Mhm.
For
Do
like
you
I
pay
heard.
like 140 a month for Claude?
no.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, we
I
do.
think I pay like 20 for ChatGPT and like maybe 30 for Claude. I'm sure it's probably more than that too. It's probably like 30 or 40 a piece or something like this, right? So it's funny
Yeah.
too for somebody who criticizes AI as much as I do occasionally. Like I'm a subscriber.
Yeah.
Um,
Is
Yeah.
there a way to turn off the emojis on ChatGPT? Because I noticed that like every time I get an output on ChatGPT, it's just filled with fucking emojis, and it's like kind of like so like flowery. I'm sure that there's a way to turn it off, but it's just annoying.
I never get emoji
Like you
type
don't
of
get it?
ChatGPT. No, maybe I
Like in
totally.
your
I must
you mean
just
like in
must
your
have scrolled it.
responses?
Yeah, and like the responses, it's always like just like this flowery emoji shit for some reason.
Interesting.
Yeah,
No, but I think that I like in any AI I work in, especially if I use it for like writing or like editing work, I always go like into the presets and I'll tell it things so that it,
like
it doesn't do it.
yeah,
And I think one of the presets I had was like
no
because
emojis.
I was using it to help like ideate ideas for my clients' emails. And one of the things I said was like just don't use emojis. So when that's baked into the preset, it just doesn't do it. I was gonna say something else, now I forgot. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I did something with the presets at some point, but I never get emojis from it now. M dashes, my God, loves those M dashes.
Loves the M dashes. Loves the sentence fragments, like
Hmm.
sentences that aren't really sentences. It loves listing things in threes.
Yeah, the
I was also reading.
fragmented sentences are kind of it's annoying how much it loves that as well.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I was reading on that LinkedIn went from like a social graph to like more of a intent based graph, and it doesn't really matter how many followers you have. It's just whether or not people are interested in whatever said topic is. Is that what you guys have been reading too? Like, and I also heard that they've slashed like reach by like half in some cases. and like I don't know, like I know you've grown substantially, Mike, to like 24K or whatever, but like have you guys read anything like this? Like, have you heard about the graph change from like social to intent? Have you heard anything?
Uh, yeah, Gary V is talking about this lately, where he's part of what he's talking. He's actually been talking about this for a while. He's always pretty on the ball when it comes to social media, needless to say.
Yeah,
But
for
he's
sure.
talking about how like followers don't really matter anymore. Like it is kind of more of an interest. I think he's called it something like interest media.
Yes.
It's not social media anymore. It's like interest media.
Hmm.
It's like you're gonna see like relevant topics come up in your feed is what you're gonna see now. Um, and that's pretty true of LinkedIn as well. Um, but I have a couple theories. I definitely do feel like they are. I think they're actually pushing certain topics, like
AI.
because I mean, like I see a ton of AI related content on LinkedIn. Like every third post, or almost feels like every second post that comes up in my feed is about AI. Now, um, I don't think I'm that interested in AI that every second post should be AI. I feel like they're backing that keyword on LinkedIn. It's like they want AI to be top of mind for everybody. Which, if Microsoft has all these shares in LinkedIn, and Microsoft also has shares in ChatGPT, like it kind of makes sense. And I think that there's kind of like overall there's like an overall like AI sort of agenda that's being rolled out right now. Like actually that's very obvious. I mean, God, they're building these massive data centers and stuff. They like they need this to work. There's a lot of like big investors and a lot of like big money that really want this to work, right? For a myriad of reasons. Yeah. So, but also something I've noticed with LinkedIn, and this is the part that actually kind of sucks, is that if you go to promote an actual offer, they are going to try and like push it down and like throttle it. And I believe that they're doing that by just anytime that you have a CTA, they're gonna like push it down a bit. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still sometimes get past that a little bit. Like, I had an offer post like this week or whatever that still did like maybe 3 or 4 thousand impressions, but like that's nothing in comparison to if I just write a post, maybe a little polarizing take, a hook with a bit of an angle, whatever, maybe something related to AI, maybe something satire, no CTA. Like I'm not trying to sell you anything. Some of those will get like 40,000 impressions. And some people I think are still convinced like, oh, that's just what people are interested in. Like they like it because it's satire. They like that it was about AI and stuff. And I think there's a bit of truth to that, but I also think that what LinkedIn is doing is they want to sell more ads, right? They moved more into like a sort of pay to play type model. And it makes perfect sense because they also released like creator boosting. So from your personal brand page, you can now boost posts. So they want to keep people scrolling on the platform, keep people consuming content on the platform. And they're doing a really good job of that. Like, I've got caught in a LinkedIn doom scroll, definitely more and more these days. So they want to keep people on the platform. So they're kind of like optimizing for this dopamine type inducing type content. And that's like memes, satire, humor. personal stories still work as well. Like a good personal story can sort of like suck you in. But then at the same time, what they're doing, and this makes perfect sense, is that for your offer posts, if they throttle that, then like real bit or like business people who still want to make money on the platform eventually come to the conclusion that I think we have to start paying for ads. I think we have to start boosting these posts. They're not getting the same reach that they used to, right? But at the same time, they're keeping their user base very high by having that dopamine inducing scroll stopping type content in the feed, the memes, the satire, the personal stories and that. But the moment you drop a CTA, push it down. So you have to
Yeah.
get really creative.
I mean, it makes total sense that social media, like what Gary Vee said about it shifting to interest media, because this gets driven home a lot in that YouTube program that I'm in, where he's like, YouTube literally has one goal. It's to keep people on the platform. So if you put out a video and it analyzes it for the first 48 hours and it sees that like people are clicking on it and the people who click are sticking around for like at least 50% of the video, then it's going to push it to like the discover page and the browse page, and that's where you want your content to show up. So like you don't really want to be sending people the link to your content, especially in the first 48 hours, because you want it to show up on the discover page first. And that makes sense for all social media, because the goal of any social media is to make money and keep people on the platform. So they're incentivized to only show people the stuff that they actually engage with, because they want those people to engage and stay on the platform. And then the other side of it, like I remember years ago people were saying the same thing about Facebook. They're like, "Oh, Facebook posts like can't do well because they want you to pay to boost those posts." And I think there's validity to that, because if an algorithm can shift to make people put money into the platform, then like why would they not do that? But I think organic content can still work. It's just that I think a lot of people, like especially on a platform like LinkedIn, the thing that got me like spending a lot less time there was I just felt like I was just like seeing the same shit over and over again. And I think that's what kind of happens when people like hop on the trends, or they're like, "Oh, this is what's like really working on LinkedIn right now." So then they really like lean into that. They're like, "I just got to like ride the wave of what's working." And there is validity to that. But for me, I felt like when I see every second post being about AI, I just like scroll past it, cuz I'm like, I just don't like seeing the same thing over and over again.
Do you
Yeah.
do you guys use Facebook? Because I don't use Facebook at all, and I'm curious if there's probably a demographic, an older demographic on there. I'm sure that is worth like reaching if like if you're trying to get it like boomers or something. But do younger people hang out on Facebook? I know they hang out on Instagram, but
Yeah, Facebook for business. I actually learned this the other day and I had to look it up to verify it. Facebook today is actually still the most like used social platform. And the that Caleb guy, the SEO guy, talked about it a little bit yesterday too, because he said Facebook has a massive influence on somebody's SEO. So
Mm.
like if a business doesn't have like a business Facebook page, that affects their SEO and it makes them look less credible. Because if you think about like all the different generations, that like Facebook has the widest generational spread. Whereas like TikTok is going to be typically like younger users, LinkedIn might be a certain type of person, Facebook kind of gets a little bit of everybody. There's definitely people who think that Facebook isn't relevant anymore, but for like business and networking, it's still super relevant. I've gotten clients off of Facebook.
oh
It's
damn.
still one of the biggest ad platforms
Hmm.
out there, right?
Yep.
Like it's, Meta is Facebook and Instagram and probably like WhatsApp and this and that, right? But yeah, yeah, I think I made some post or something like I'm totally fine with LinkedIn becoming the new Facebook. Uh, Facebook has soul.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that's kind of like but I think I wrapped it around and I kind of highlighted the sort of like that Facebook does kind of have that vibe, like, yeah, your uncle is complaining about politics, your aunt is posting pictures of the dog. So there is some truth to that like people can do well on LinkedIn if they show a bit more like personality and that kind of thing, right? Because some of the people who treat it just like a corporate business platform, I think at this point are kind of like losing or missing out on the bigger opportunity, because the people I see killing it on LinkedIn are definitely showing more personality and like a bit of like almost lifestyle in that, right?
You think
Yeah,
they're gonna get people? Go, sorry, Kels.
oh no, that's okay. I actually met. I didn't realize I was connected with her, but there's this girl on LinkedIn who I came across the other day. You guys might follow her. Her name's Jillian Richardson, and in her bio it says helping solopreneurs and executives get weird and build authority on LinkedIn. And I was like, get weird, that's funny. And then I go click on her profile. She's got
I know what you're
29,000
talking.
followers. So like just shy of 30,000 followers, and
I know
her
what the banner, right? The banner.
her banner literally says it's just content, relax your butthole.
Dang.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
She has 30,000 followers. I'm like, this is amazing. I messaged her yesterday and I was like, serious question though. How did it feel when you first changed your banner to relax your butthole? Because
I
I
think
just
that's
want to
just
know.
hilarious. I do wonder if it will work though. Like, do you think that
I
like,
mean, she has 30,000 followers, so it's not working.
no, I mean the I just like will people actually buy from her, I suppose. But at the same time, like that is pretty clever though. I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a beard, because some women don't like beards and some do, right? So it's an easy way of cutting through, and you're going to find like your dream clients faster, because for her, she's probably a pretty quirky person, to say the least, you know. So by saying that on her banner, there's a certain type of
Clientele.
person who's never going to work with her, and she's kind of like almost automatically disqualifying them.
And the other
Yeah.
ones are probably more magnetic, I assume.
Yeah,
I would imagine, I mean, she probably gets messages like mine all the time of being like, haha, I love your bio. And then like that's gonna pull in the right people. But I've had the same experience with just calling my brand inspired idiots. Like there it I would
yeah.
say like 70% of people, maybe even 80, like the name and they get it and they think it's funny and they think it's clever and all the things. But I've had a good handful of people that are like, you should change that, or like, I don't like that, or like, why would you call people inspired idiots, or they like get defensive. And I used to like be concerned about that, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, it's not for
Okay.
you. That's fine.
Yeah, LinkedIn is such a sensitive platform that like 100% there'd be people who are like offended by even just that, inspired idiots.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I
Yeah,
should
But it's
I
not
don't.
for them.
Do you think that LinkedIn's going to have trouble keeping people on their platform with the way that they're like trying to only go with ads? Because like, what's the point of it now? If like like you have to pay to play so much. It just seems like there's so many other platforms out there that I feel like they have to like toe a line.
Well, like at the same time, right? Even though it is so obvious what, like for me, what they are doing, I actually was messaging my buddy Gage the other night there or something. I was showing him some screenshots of my posts, and I'm like, "See, look at this one, 40,000 impressions. Look at this one, like 60,000 impressions, and then this one, 1,700 impressions, an offer post, right? Right? And then look at this one, 20,000. And then this one, okay, offer post, but 3,000, right? I was showing him this, and it's like, to me, it all comes down to like what they're doing is they're using AI to scan your post for what it's about. And it's pretty easy to tell if someone is even like just subtly soft selling in a post, because you have to say something like, so if you're a ghostwriter, da 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 da, or if you're a founder looking to grow your brand on LinkedIn, if you are looking to increase leads or booked qualified calls, then you have to say something like, DM me the word, or send me a message, or let's connect. That's a call to action, right? And can you sell without a call to action? Yeah, but you're just missing that call to action part where you give them the next step to actually convert, right? So I think the smart play now on LinkedIn, and I've really been kind of like feeling it like this week since I, you know, tried to like or and drop this whole ghostwriting community thing, right? To find creative ways to promote it. So I tried, for example, in one post, instead of having a CTA, I just dropped the name of the community, right? So it's sort of like there's a curiosity gap there. I just say the modern ghostwriter. That's what we'll be talking about in the modern ghostwriter, so that people might be like, what the hell is the modern ghostwriter? And then go to my page and go to the featured section and then see, oh, okay, I see he's dropped this offer post from like a week ago that I didn't see, right? So yeah, I think you got to get kind of smart in terms of like maybe name dropping your program or name dropping your offer. Come up with some name for your offer that you can just mention in an offhand way, because then you can tell that story post of the time I was struggling with this, right? But then I did XYZ thing and I overcame it. And this is what I cover, or this is what I do for you in my something offer. But then there's no like DM me the word growth if you want in, or whatever. Like, because
Fill
I
us in with
think
the details on that. By the way, I don't know. So you started the community, or what? I'm
well, yeah, yeah, and I so far I've gotten like maybe three or four like inbound leads for it and stuff,
oh yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting. Like you really kind of see what the market is like out there when you drop an offer, right? So yeah, so no signups yet, right? But some people interested anyway.
Exciting.
Yeah, so but I think the play now is sort of like a mix of like, you still need those top of funnel posts, right? So drop the meme post, drop the satire post, drop the personal story post, drop the post like the text only post with humor or whatever, right? And then use that to get all that traffic and interest, and then hopefully then like and then funnel that back into your more like middle and bottom of funnel type posts where you actually do have a CTA. Because if you don't give people the CTA, the next steps that they can take, I think that reduces your conversion big time. Because not everyone is going to message you and be like, "Hey, what do you actually do?" So you have to make it. You do have to make it clear what you actually do on your LinkedIn profile. I think that is the recipe. Is like go. There's different types of recipes. Actually, somebody was talking about this in a post, and it's like, it was actually a pretty smart post. He said, there's two ways I see it. You can either go like very top of funnel viral and then optimize your LinkedIn profile so that it's very clear what you actually do when your ICP lands on your page. You can go that route, or you can go where you optimize mostly for middle and bottom of funnel content, like very much like authority, kind of the stuff that used to work better on LinkedIn in 2025, right? Where you don't try and do the whole viral thing. You go very middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You're really writing about your services, writing about like how you help clients and all this, case studies, testimonials, all that, right? And then you actually just do more DMs, because you're going to get reduced traffic, but you make up for it with the volume that you're doing with the DMs. So
Yeah, that's interesting because I've actually had this thought in the last couple weeks, thinking about some of the things that you said, Mike, just in terms of like offer posts really not working as well as they used to, having any kind of like CTA, like DM me or comment this. I noticed like when I've tested those with my own content, but also with some of my clients, those don't do well, and they used to be able to do well. Even things like I've noticed what I've started kind of experimenting with, and obviously I'm of the three of us here, I'm not like claiming to be the authority on LinkedIn by any means, but I just like test different things with content. And I found that when I make posts recently talking about my interview offer and I start using the word you a lot, like you said, Mike, where it's like, if you're this type of person, it's like
Mm.
something in that wording LinkedIn realizes like, oh, this person's making an offer. They're trying to target somebody with this post. Yeah, fuck that. We're not pushing this. But if I make the post about me more, where like, this is something I learned from an interview client this week, and I can still like include the same pieces of information, but I just package it differently, where instead of making it sound like, hey, I'm trying to like direct this post at somebody, I'm just like, this is something that happened in my business, or this is something that just happened with an interview client. And you make it more about like the kind of like how Dakota used to teach, like talk in the how I, not the how you should kind of language. I found that there still are ways to talk about your offer and talk about your business, but it just doesn't work the way it did like last year, where you can make very direct offer posts of like, this is what I do, this is what you get, this is who it's for. I find those posts are like almost not worth posting for me anymore. Um, but the other thing too that's interesting, like you said, Mike, is like you can kind of take the approach of like making direct offer posts and knowing that they might not perform as well, and knowing that if you want them to get seen, you might need to boost them, and then hoping that people message you directly from that post because it's very clear to them. Or you could take the approach of like, I'm just going to make more top of the funnel posts that people will actually like want to engage with in some way, and that LinkedIn will want to show people, and then I'll try to make it so good that people like want to click to my profile, where it's then very clear what I do and how they could work with me. And I've actually found that that second method is kind of what I've been leaning into more. Like I honestly haven't been putting much time into my LinkedIn posts. I think I went like a week without posting, so my analytics are like in the shitter right now. But when I have been making posts about just like realizations that I've had recently, or like something I learned from a client interview, or just like more so just like human content as opposed to like offer content, I get more people connecting with me and being like, "Hey, I liked your post today," or like they'll like ask something about what I do, and that's really the whole goal, is to just like start a conversation. So I actually think that angle might work better on LinkedIn, of just like, don't worry about making offers in your posts, just make posts that LinkedIn is actually going to show people and make people feel something, and then get them to come to your profile and message you and then start a conversation, and then in that conversation you can eventually work in your offer. It's obviously a little bit more of like a back and forth, because you're not getting somebody messaging you directly from an offer post being like, "Hey, I want this. What do you do?" Like there's going to be more conversation that needs to be had. But I found for me, in getting interview clients and even just like finding people that I want to interview for free, I kind of need to do a little bit of back and forth with them, because I want to get a sense for like, how is this person, like it's a relationship, and I want to get a sense of like, what is this person like to talk to. So I actually think that's the way I'm leaning with my content.
Are you guys still? It sounds like you're still doing story type posts and just stuff that's happened to you in your day to day life. Those are always the best ones, anyways. Like I had something happen this week where I had like terrible sleep. I had like I think 5 minutes of deep sleep from my like Aura ring, and I was getting interviewed on a podcast, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't want to do this today. Like this is like not the day." And I pushed through and did it anyways, and like I'm glad that I did. But like I was gonna write a post on that. I took a bit of a LinkedIn break myself this week. I kind of just got burned out, so I was gonna write a post on that like next week and kind of talk about like how just showing up when you don't like want to show up, that type of thing. But yeah, it's definitely hard when you're not like don't have sleep and you're not inspired to like go get interviewed or whatever. So like I had a lot of respect for the people that I've interviewed in the past, and I'm sure that you have as a host. Like where it's like, shit, it's kind of hard being on the other side. I think it's easier to be the host sometimes than to actually be the one that's being interviewed.
Interesting. Interesting. I don't
Maybe
know
it's
if I've ever had
control.
that thought.
Maybe it's like a control thing because like I'm controlling the conversation, and they're kind of like you kind of have to just let go and let them take you wherever they're going to take you.
Mm, yeah, I don't. I always try like, I always try to make the interview feel as easy as possible for the person to like engage. So if I ask a question and that person's going off for like 5 minutes, then I know I'm doing a good job.
Right.
It's when people start getting short that I know
Right.
I'm not doing as best as I could. Um,
Interesting.
and this is something else I've actually started doing, which might be helpful for you, Jer. I don't know if you're still doing a lot of like the video interview content, but I used to send people my questions ahead of time, and I've stopped doing that because I don't want them to like prepare and be scripted unless it's like a paid client who like I'm specifically interviewing them for clips for their content.
Yeah.
Then sometimes I think it's like respectful to send them some of the questions because there's some of them that like they might want to like think of what they want to say because it's for their content. But with the free interviews I've been doing, I tell people ahead of time like what the angle of the interview is. So
Sure.
like um for example, there's this girl that I've been talking with on LinkedIn who's like really really big into like sales training, and she like loves sales. She's like, I love talking about it. I love like training people's sales teams. I love like changing people's mind about sales and how like sales really isn't icky. It's actually like a lot of fucking fun. And I'm like, "Oh, this could be like a cool conversation." So we were voice noting back and forth yesterday about like what I ultimately want the angle of the interview to be, so she comes into it kind of knowing like, okay, this is what we're going to be like talking about, and it just kind of like gets them more engaged from the get-go. But then I know that I'm the one like driving the interview, so like I have backup points in my head if I feel like the interview's starting to like go kind of quiet, or
Right.
if I feel like this person's starting to get short, I know like where I can take it from there.
Kind of
Or
pivot.
also if, yeah, if somebody like goes off on a tangent for 10 minutes and then you're like, okay, I gotta like pull this back somehow. I feel like it's my pressure as the host to like
Right.
moderate a good conversation, but really like kind of let that person hit the gas.
Makes sense.
When I was first starting out in ghostwriting, um, it was very like the original Growth Ghost, like cohort one, right? It was a lot about like thread writing and stuff like this because it was all very geared towards Twitter. And Twitter threads have a very structured format, right? It's usually like point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it might be. And then like Dakota's like what, why, how framework. So I used to try and do, especially in the very early days, these interview calls where I was very much like, okay, and what would you do here, right? And like why is that important, and how would someone implement that, right? Or like use that, what, why, how, right? And it was so like rigid. It's like too structured, right? But I started to move, especially when I actually moved over to LinkedIn, move more towards more of a free form type conversation, and like leaning into my own curiosity with it. Like they say something and maybe I don't know what the actual like answer, or there's something I don't know about that, and I'd ask them about that. And that, that's like the way that like Joe Rogan would do a podcast, for example. Like um and that seems to work much better. And maybe there's times where you have to rope the client, like, or like kind of rein them in a little bit, but I found that I actually didn't have to do that as much, and I could just like let them go for the most part. Yeah, so that's much more how I appreciate, or how I like to do it now, is just to kind of like let them go for the most part, lean into the curiosity, spot the sort of like gems and gold nuggets that come up that would make for good content. So a much more like looser type feel. If I was
Yeah.
doing like a carousel for LinkedIn, yeah, sometimes you do have to keep it more structured and this and that, but like yeah, there's no getting around that. If for something like a carousel or a thread, yeah, you might have to kind of rein them in more. But for like a story post or something like this, it's just kind of like go ahead, like let it out.
I actually that's really interesting because I had that same realization too in my interviews was like I think what you said there about like you can try to get them to be more structured for something like a carousel post, but I don't think you want to try to structure them in the interview. I think you just find that structure post interview when you're crafting the content
Yeah,
because I like as I started booking more people, I felt like I needed to like prepare more, especially like when I booked a guest who was like probably my biggest guest ever. He had like 500,000 followers on Instagram, like huge business, and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to like really prepare for this." So I literally spent like weeks looking at his shit. I spent hours like watching other videos he did. I like ran through my questions so many times and like it wasn't a bad interview by any means, but like as I started to do that more, I started liking the interviews less, like the process during them, but then also the video output because I was like this just sounds like rehearsed. Like I sound scripted. I think I got so focused on like sticking to my questions and getting to the next question that I didn't leave space to just like engage with what they had said or like get them to dig into it more because I was like I have this predetermined list of questions and I have to get them done and then it leaves no room for that person to like go
Well,
off and like that could turn into like an amazing clip. Yeah, like flow. I left no room for that. And I
and no
ended up
discovery. No, this is interesting. Like, because there'd be no discovery on your end where you're like hearing something for the first time, and
yeah.
then you're like, "Oh, are you serious? Like, your first client ever was Walmart? What?" And
Yeah.
then what kind of reaction are you going to get to like to that when like you just had that reaction? It's like your first client ever was Walmart. How the hell did you land Walmart as your first client? And then they're like, yeah, no, it was crazy. Like it was all through a connection and like my co-founder, his dad knew this guy, went to university with. Is you're going to get a much different answer as opposed to, oh yeah, no, I read that on your LinkedIn, like on your 165th post back. Yeah, that was good. That was good. You're not
Yeah.
you're gonna get the same reaction.
Yeah. So what I started doing differently was instead of going in with predetermined questions, I go in with like beats instead. So it's like I used to go in with like 10 to 12 like written out questions and I was like this is what I'm going to ask because this is what I found in my research and this is something they did that I need to touch on and instead now in my interviews I go in with like 5-ish beats of like okay I know I want to get them to talk about this thing but I don't have the question written out so like with the SEO guy yesterday one of them was just like why SEO like why did this guy decide to build a business doing SEO? But the question's not written out. It's just like that's a beat that I know I want to touch on. And I think having those beats are good, like I said before, in case the conversation starts going totally awry or in case like he starts going quiet or something, then I know what else I want to get to, but I'm not going in scripted. And the other thing is I'm not putting words in their mouth. So like I've done it before in past interviews where I'm like, "Oh, I saw that your business did this much or I heard you talk about this thing." I can't do that. I don't want to put those words in their mouth. I just need to ask a question that sets them up to talk about that thing.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, I come back to the same thing too. Yeah, you get a much different reaction. Yeah, I heard that you guys did da 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 da, X number of dollars in 2024. It's yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
something to be said
exactly.
about like over preparation and preparation too, like that line of like how much to prepare. I think it's smart to be like somewhat prepared, but like going too deep could probably backfire a little bit, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, like I have to know why I'm interviewing them for sure. And I need to know that like for me cuz I've made the mistake before of interviewing people who just wanted to be interviewed and the interview kind of fell flat because like I didn't know like
The fame
what
kind of.
yeah, like why does this person inspire me? Like what's worth telling about their story? So I need to do a certain amount of preparation to know like okay, what does this person talk about? Why is that interesting? What could this like angle of conversation be? But I don't spend hours like diving into a person's shit beforehand anymore. If they're a paid client, obviously it's a bit of a different process, but yeah, I need to go in knowing like, okay, why am I interviewing this person? What are the beats that I would want them to touch on? And then leave that room to have like an actual engaging conversation and leave that space for them to say the shit, not for me to say it for them.
Yeah. Yeah. The more it feels like an actual conversation or a podcast and not like just an interview, I think the better.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
100%. So what's up for you guys over the next week? You got anything big that you're working on? You got any clients in the pipeline? Mike, how did it go with that job? Did you ever hear back?
Yeah, I did actually. And yeah, let's talk about this for a second. Yeah, so I didn't get it. And I'll tell you an interesting thing that this gives a little bit of a clue as to why I think I may have not gotten it. Um, he checked my Loom video, like so my submission, every submission from every ghostwriter, right, had a Loom video within it because one of the assignments was to here's a LinkedIn profile, right? Go to this profile, tell me what you like about the profile, what you don't like about the profile, what you like about the content, what you don't like about the content, sort of thing, right? So and I included that Loom video, and I saw that he looked at the Loom video. So he said that he was going to get back to us on like a Wednesday with whether we got it or not, right? So I saw that he looked at my Loom video at like 5:30 p.m. or something on Wednesday. I got a rejection email, automated, at like maybe six or maybe 6:30 p.m. Now, that does leave a bit of a clue that he definitely checked my submission very late in the game. Like there's only a window of like 30 to 60 minutes there, right? So it tells me, because there was a group interview before that paid trial, it tells me that there was probably something about me from a archetype type standpoint, personality, who I am, that probably struck him as a bit of a red flag. Now, but here, I don't take that as an insult because remember, I was the only one on that group interview call that he asked the question, yeah, I was kind of wondering like why you're actually like interested in this role because you've had this like successful ghostwriting business, da 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 da. And I had mentioned the part about the fiction novel and how I'm maybe like looking to take a step back with the ghostwriting and put more time into the fiction novel and this. And I thought that was like a genius answer, exactly what this guy is going to want to hear. But maybe it still wasn't enough to kind of get past his sort of like agency owner like radar and stuff. And it wasn't like a fabricated answer. It's actually like the truth, right? But it might still not have been enough. Like I think that he saw me as like more of an agency owner and less of a ghostwriter and kind of like what does this guy really want here? And like if we bring him in, he's going to get all this intel on how we operate. Plus, not to mention, is this just like a temporary thing where he's looking to like write for my agency for a bit as he finishes the fiction novel and then like take all that information and go back to ghostwriting? Is this just going to be like a 3 to 6 month stint and then he's going back to the agency? I think what probably happened, because if you're looking at my submission like half an hour or 60 minutes before the rejection email, like I think that I already was put into like a list of like, no, that this guy's no, like he might be good or whatever, but this is probably not going to work. I think he's more of an agency owner, not a ghostwriter. I actually do know the people who got it, and like it kind of makes sense. Like they fit a certain like archetype. They have a certain type of experience. Like one of the guy who got it, he's mostly only done ghostwriting for agencies. Like he has less experience running the business himself. I think that he might have had like, it was at least one, but like maybe two agencies that he'd worked for in the past, right? So he's like an agency writer. And the girl, so I think there was two people selected. The girl that was selected, it was very much the same thing. Like she'd been like a fixture within another ghostwriting agency. And I think that's what he was looking for. It's like, I want just a ghostwriter. I want someone I can plug into the agency who just maybe has even like less of those entrepreneurial type traits. So I think that's what it is. I think I struck him maybe as too much of an agency owner, too much of an entrepreneur. This guy's maybe not going to be as moldable.
It's probably where they're gonna leave. Probably, I think that's like the catch-22 of like you starting your own business is like, I think people look at you like, oh, as soon as this guy gets the chance, he's gonna bounce because he's not gonna like stay interested in my company long enough. It's a weird thing because I don't look at it that way, but I think the majority of the corporate world looks at like entrepreneurship like that. I look at it as a positive thing, but most people look at it like you're a liability.
I think entrepreneurs also, like founders, have a scent or like a radar for that too, where it's like, I don't know, like it smells a little bit like an
independent.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I don't like the cut of this guy's jib. He's got too independent.
Yeah, that would totally make sense because like from what you told us of the interview and like the fact that he asked you questions he didn't ask anybody else gave me the impression that you caught his eye and he was interested. But I could totally see that like if you're somebody who is a ghostwriter but you've only ever really been like a ghostwriter freelancer for other companies, there's gonna be probably like that person is probably going to be a little bit more moldable. They might see more longevity in that person because they're like, oh, they're looking for like a team to be a part of. But when you get somebody who is like very entrepreneurial and that like they not only offer that skill to businesses, but they've actually built their own business off of doing that. I mean, I relate to that. Like there probably would be a little bit more like risk with that person because even if they're in a place where they're like, yeah, I want to be part of a team, I just want to focus on the ghostwriting, I don't really want to like run my full agency right now, they know that you've already done it. And so it's pretty likely that you will do it again. So they might be looking and thinking, like, oh, this guy's probably not going to be like a long term forever member. And also, yeah, I mean, I probably would think this too. Like, he probably does see advantage in this opportunity in that, like, he can learn how our operation works. And then that's gonna, like, not saying that you're gonna, like, poach clients or anything like that, but you're gonna take that and then use that to go back to doing your own thing someday. So yeah, it's valid. I mean, makes sense.
At first, when I received that rejection email, I was kind of like, what the fuck? And also, I saw that he checked out my Loom like half an hour or 60 minutes before the email rejection. I was kind of like, what the hell? And this guy checked my Loom like that close to it, right? I was kind of actually like surprised. I was kind of and disappointed and stuff like this, right? But then the more I thought about it, I kind of came to the realization that like I don't know if I would hire myself for my agency because it's kind of like, yeah, no, like is this guy trying to scope out the inner workings of my business here? I don't know if I can fully trust this. Is he just going to go back to his own agency? Yeah, because I mean, entrepreneurs are very likely to like entrepreneurs, especially in this day and age, are pivoters, right?
They're kind of unhireable in a way.
Yeah, you become very unemployable, like, and and you work for the agency maybe for like what 3 or 4 months, and it's like, no, sorry, man, I'm gonna go in my own direction now. But thanks a lot. Entrepreneurs are like the most likely people to do that.
Yeah, I it's funny because I like one of my closest friends works for a very, very big company here in Canada, and she like loves working for them. And honestly, when she talks to me about her situation sometimes, she's the only person that sometimes when she talks about her job, I'm like, "Damn, that sounds like the ideal that people look for when they like get a full-time job." Because it's like huge company, they pay her well. All employees get like stocks in the company, so like you get like a nice little bonus at the end of every year when their stock does well. You get bonuses on top of that. It's like hybrid, so like she's at the office sometimes but works from home a lot. They have like a fucking like chill room at the home office where like there's pool tables and stuff, and people are like encouraged to like go chill like between meetings and shit. Like she travels a lot for work. Like it's like what I think a lot of people want when they get a full-time job. And this friend I think would probably like breathe a sigh of relief if I like got a job. Like I think she just like wants the best for me, and she sees how hard I work in business, and she's just like, "Hey, like there's this position, like just sending it to you." And I remember one position she sent me specifically that I thought about for like months after, because one of the things they made very clear in the listing was that they wanted somebody quote entrepreneurial for the role. um because it was like a lot of like coming up with ideas and talking to people and leading and all these things, and it just made me like I never put in an application because I was like I'm unemployable. Like I just know that now. I don't think I could ever go back to just being a 9 to 5 employee. But I thought about that for so long because I'm like, if I hear a big company like that saying, we want the person in this role to be entrepreneurial, I feel like there's two sides to that. And I don't know that you want both of them, because what I think you're saying is you want somebody who's going to like take initiative, who's going to not be afraid, who probably has some sales skills and isn't going to be like a follower. Like they're going to be a leader, because if you're entrepreneurial, you have to just like do shit and do it wrong and put yourself out there. And I think they probably want those parts of an entrepreneurial person. But the
Mhm.
other side is like they said they wanted somebody entrepreneurial, but nowhere in the thing did they say like we want to see that you have entrepreneurial experience. I was like, I don't think that you would actually want somebody who is an entrepreneur though, because you like thinking about my experience being a 9 to 5 employee, being the person that I am today, I don't think that I would be a great employee, because I wouldn't not question things. I wouldn't like not try to make things better. If something like doesn't make sense, or if it's just like corporate time wasting bullshit, I wouldn't be there for it. Like I'd be like, I'm wasting my time. So I think if you're a company and you're like, we want to bring on somebody as an employee, but we want this person to be entrepreneurial, I don't know. I don't think you do. Because somebody who's like truly entrepreneurial is probably going to be a little bit like unemployable. Like they might not be the employee that you want to make them to be if they truly are entrepreneurial.
And maybe I'm just guessing here. My hypothesis is maybe what they're actually looking for in terms of when they say entrepreneurial is that one trait that entrepreneurs have is the ability to like work at something. Like, of course, there is the promise of potential money, right? But to work at something, right? Like uh, knowing that there is future upside potential, but that it might not be here right now. Meaning, if they're a startup, like they might be looking for someone to come in, like very like scrappy, assertive, like can doesn't need to be like micromanaged anything, self starter, all this. But what they're also really looking for is you to handle like a lot and be willing to like sacrifice a lot to help them build, which is kind of an entrepreneurial trait of like seeing the future potential even though it's not here yet. So maybe that's also translation for we're going to pay you $40,000 a year, um, and there's going to be a lot of upside potential for you in like a year or two from now.
Mhm. Yeah. Eva said, "That's my sister. She and her hubby work in tech, and she's always encouraged me to be a W-2 employee. She's always ahead of the times. I think it's possible to have both, work for someone else, gain more skills, and improve leadership, and simultaneously work on my own projects." I think that's the other thing too, is like I've spoken to people before who like are working on building their business while they have a full-time job. And with both of these people I'm thinking of, there was some point where their boss or their company like sat down with them and was like, "Hey, your focus is being pulled. Like, you can't, if you're on LinkedIn for our business, you can't be like always posting stuff for your own business." So I think that's kind of the danger too, is like if you hire somebody who's entrepreneurial, you're probably going to run into somebody who is going to continue working on their own things on the side and isn't going to be like, all my cards are in this deck.
That's what
I
happened with
got
Jeremy here.
I got talked to when I was a marketing director when they were trying to control my content, and I pretty much told the CEO to fuck off, and it
Yeah.
didn't end well for me. But like I think that that's the thing too, is just that like I realize too that people don't like it when you have an opinion, and like when you go into organizations and like they want a lot of yes people, I feel like. And then like if you kind of stand up to leaders, like it's like it never like did well for me. Like I would just get cornered,
This
and
is
then
what
like
this is why I'm completely unemployable, man.
Unemployable,
Way
hashtag.
too opinionated. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want, you mentioned a friend that sends you like job opportunities and stuff. I wouldn't want that friend. I know that sounds a little harsh, but I don't want someone sending me job opportunities. Um, I'm okay with like what happened, a couple weeks back when I did, yeah, apply for that ghostwriter position within the agency or whatever. I'm okay with like finding it myself and then deciding, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this, which is very rare for me, but I'm okay with finding it myself. I don't want someone sending me job opportunities. To me, it's kind of like since I've been in this entrepreneurial space for so long, I kind of see it as personally, I would see it as a slap in the face. It's like, you think I'm not doing this for real? Like, that's just me though.
No, I'm totally with you. I take it with love from this particular person, but yeah, I get that. It's like, man, stop trying to give me outs. I'm on this road.
Yeah, and I
Stop
also
trying to take
wouldn't
me
I
off
wouldn't
it.
want to see it too, because you're talking about pool tables in the chill room and stuff like this, right? And like probably some good salaries and benefits and stuff like this. I don't want to see this stuff, right?
Yeah.
there's also a flip side of that, like the Google thing where they have like nap pods and like dry cleaners and like mills and all that. They don't want you to leave, is
Yeah.
really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And like that's a smart way of like making people not want to leave, but at the end of the day, like there is that pressure probably to like be there all the time.
Yeah. 100%. Oh man, I mean, we could probably do a whole other live on this. But no, this was
Probably
this was really good. It was good catching up with you guys. I'm glad we
good
all hopped on.
good times.
Maybe
Have
we
a good
should
weekend, you guys.
maybe we
Thanks
should
everyone
make
for
a
showing
next
up.
one about this
Yeah,
entrepreneurship versus the 9 to 5.
that's right.
Good
Hashtag
ones.
unemployable.
Peace.
Peace.
You guys.